with Biden. Some White House staffers are reportedly irritated with the president's son, Hunter Biden, because he has begun to launch his legal and public relations strategy without consulting the West Wing. According to Politico, one former Joe Biden campaign aide said some of the White House are, quote, irritated that Hunter is being more aggressive because he is not clearing the tactics in the strategy.
House Oversight and Accountability Committee Chair James Comer reportedly said that if Hunter Biden were allowed to testify before the committee publicly, Democrats would be yelling and screaming during the hearing. Here's some more from Representative Comer on the investigation into Hunter Biden.
We have tens of thousands of pages of documents where we need to sit down and ask specific substantive questions without filibustering, without interruptions, without going 5 minutes back and forth with Jamie Raskins and Dan Goldman and little Moskowitz jumping up and down, filing motions and trying to disrupt the committee hearings. This is very important. This is a credible investigation. This is substantive. We're doing this investigation the way it's supposed to be done. And the subpoena calls for Hunter Biden to come in for a deposition. And that's what we expect to have, a deposition where the transcripts will be released. When you have a deposition, the committee votes to release the transcripts. After the January 6th committee, the depositions were filmed. So this deposition will be filmed. This will be testifying in public, but not in a chaotic scene where the Democrats who have already demonstrated they can't conduct themselves in a mature, credible manner during a hearing. So we expect the deposition, then we'll have the public hearing that everybody wants to have.
Joining us now to discuss is former Special Assistant to President Biden, Michael LaRosa. Welcome back, Michael.
Thanks for having me back.
So first, let me ask you how true it is that Hunter Biden is sort of moving forward through this process without advising or with the counsel of the office of the president. Is he really kind of going on a lark here and making the choice to say, hey, I want to have a public hearing?
I don't know that it's his responsibility to coordinate with the White House. And in fact, the White House has been the sort of party here that has really tried to distance themselves from Hunter and Hunter questions and Hunter-related questions for the last 2 or 3 years, and really have not mounted a very aggressive defense of the president and his family, and specifically Hunter. So I don't blame Hunter and his team for moving on their own. I think it was the smart move. I think it's working. I think they have really gotten under the skin of Republicans and have really given Democrats a reason to kind of crow a bit because of the richness that you're seeing from Comer and the Republicans. I mean, the man is offering to come and testify just the same way that Neil Bush, the son of the sitting president, did in 1991 without a deposition. And Hunter's willing to do it alone.
Right, but in terms of a public hearing, you very well know, Michael, that the questions per member are limited. There's a big time limit. You don't get access to sensitive documents, or at least you can't read them into the record. So why not sit for a private deposition and then do the public hearing so that they can have these conversations about classified materials potentially, have more time for member, be able to review all of these documents, and then they can do the public hearing per Hunter's request?
You can do all those things and submit them all for the record, for sure, and still have the public hearing. I think the answer to your question, the why, is because of how the Republican majority really tried to misrepresent Devin Archer's testimony after he testified behind closed doors. And you'll notice that they did not call Devin Archer back to testify in public, because Devin Archer pretty much confirmed everything that has been said all along, that the president did nothing wrong and Hunter Biden did nothing wrong. So that is why there is no, that Comer does not want a public hearing, of course.
Also, if I were them, well, let me challenge you for a second, because you said that it was Republicans who misrepresented Devin Archer's testimony. But it was Democrat Dan Goldman who quoted Devin Archer as saying that there was the illusion of access, as opposed to actual access to the vice president between Hunter Biden's business associates and Joe Biden. But Devin
Okay.
Archer never said that. So that was a massive misrepresentation that really took away this testimony from Devin Archer that there was legitimate access, not just the illusion of it.
Well, actually, Devin Archer went on Tucker Carlson's show and said exactly that a couple hours later. So Goldman was, in fact, correct. I don't know if Archer took his approach or his words or what, but that is what Archer told Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, so what we're talking about here is this part of the transcript where Goldman asked, so is it fair to say that Hunter Biden was selling the illusion of access to his father? And Archer replied, yes, initially.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes, correct. I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't remember it word for word, but go ahead.
Okay, and you're saying, Amber, that Democrats are saying that it was an illusion, but actually it was more substantive than that?
Well, because what Devin Archer continued on to say was that initially it was the illusion, but the access was actually granted through these business meetings and phone calls that Joe Biden was privy to or called in on conference calls. And when Dan Goldman was going on television and talking about this testimony, he quoted Devin Archer as saying illusion of access when illusion of access was actually in his question to Devin Archer.
I see. So what do you say to that, Michael?
Devin Archer also said that those phone calls that Hunter made to his father had nothing to do with business. And in fact, they were conversations that he had every day with his father, and there was nothing business related discussed at any of those things. I think at one dinner, it was a dinner celebrating Save the Children. I don't think it had anything to do with business. And Devin Archer actually says that directly to Tucker Carlson and in the hearing.
Well, Republican Congressman Andy Biggs weighed in on Hunter Biden's testimony on Fox Business this week. Let's watch.
No, I mean, this is a new lawyer for Hunter. It's a new plan, but it's the same old story. He's trying to obfuscate and distract. Look, we want to treat him the way every other witness has been treated. He's going to come in. He's going to give a closed-door deposition the way you would if you were litigating any matter, criminal or civil. And then if he still wants to go public, then I'm certain that we'll try to accommodate that. But you need to have a deposition where we get to ask questions. The Democrats get to ask questions. But it's not a 5-minute charade that so many congressional hearings are. This is actually to get at the truth. And so his terms are unacceptable to me, and I'm sure to Chairman Comer.
MSNBC's Joy-Ann Reid discussed the House investigation into Hunter Biden while on her show this week.
The business partner said, no, President Biden didn't have anything to do with it. Everyone they've brought in so far that were supposed to be witnesses for the prosecution ended up being witnesses for the defense. Have you seen, as a member of this committee, any evidence that President Biden has any involvement whatsoever in his son's companies or in his businesses?
I have not. And it's a fishing expedition. You know, one of the things that most people aren't talking about is he not only sent out this subpoena, he sent out a subpoena to the president's brother. He sent out subpoenas as well to Hunter's wife and so many family members. I mean, he is going after their entire family, just looking and hoping that somebody will slip up and say something that will give them a leg to stand on and be able to say, see, we told you. But that's not how the process works. What you're supposed to do is say, you know what, I see something and I need to dig in further. Right. Instead, they're saying, we don't see anything, but if we dig, maybe we'll finally find something.
Yeah.
I mean, I do take your point, Michael, that, you know, it's a gamble whether or not a public hearing would actually redound to the benefit of the Biden family and Hunter Biden. But certainly we've had investigations going on for a long time now without a red herring. There are these moments where there is some inconsistency between what Joe Biden has said. I've never been on a call. And then it turns out that he has been on calls, but not substantive calls. I mean, things like that, but certainly no smoking gun. So, you know, I wonder if you think that it's a good strategic decision for Hunter Biden to do a public hearing because it might expose the kind of lack of focus or lack of substance in the conservatives' approach.
I think it's a smart strategy. I think it's a good idea. I think I said this last spring to a reporter who asked me if Hunter would ever testify in public. And I said, I mean, I have no idea, but I wouldn't want to go up against Hunter Biden. He's a Yale-educated lawyer. And also the attorneys on the Democratic side just absolutely, I mean, the Republican side just did not come prepared over the summer. And the attorneys like Dan Goldman and Jared Moskowitz and the congresswoman there. I would not want to go up against those attorneys and Abby Lowell. These people are smart and brilliant at their craft. They've done this before. Dan Goldman led the impeachment, was the chief investigator for the impeachment of President Trump. But who, by the way, it should be noted, by the way, that while Hunter Biden is being subpoenaed and is cooperating and trying to coordinate on how that is done, President Trump and his White House counsel encouraged and asked all of the people subpoenaed in his White House not to cooperate. And in fact, Jim Jordan, subpoenaed it as well, also refused to cooperate and defied subpoenas. So I actually think it's a lot of progress that we've made, given the Trump given what the Trump administration did in terms of transparency and cooperating with Congress. It's pretty bold of Hunter to agree to do it at all, given what Trump and his White House staff did.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Thanks, Michael LaRosa, for joining us. We'll be following this.